Puck finally drops on Season 2 of The Code. I'm Corey Landsberg alongside Ken Belanger, former tough guy with the Islanders, Leafs, Bruins, Kings, and Whalers. How's it going, Ken?
Good. How you doing today, Corey?
I'm good. You see the Leafs, you see the Team Canada. I see Patrick Waugh, Ken Belanger. Were they inducted in the same Hall of Fame class?
Not yet. They will be one day.
Okay. Are you going to have your own bust like he does?
I'm working on it. We'll see how good the show goes.
All right. Well, let's talk avenging clean hits. Drew Doughty a few weeks ago hits Taylor Hall. Another one that comes to mind was a few nights ago, Colby Armstrong hits Marty St. Louis, and all of a sudden the gloves are off. Let's first talk about Taylor Hall getting smoked by Drew Doughty. It was Saturday night a few weeks back, and Doughty hit him with a clean hit, and next thing you know, the gloves are off. Why does that happen? Why is it such a problem for teams to throw a clean body check without having to fight? Why do you have to avenge clean hits?
Well, the question is the avenging clean hits is the question of the amount of money that goes into these players this day and age is a future franchise investment. Taylor Hall is the face of the Edmonton Oilers organization. So basically when their top asset gets hit, that's a huge blow to their company potentially. If he's injured, he can't play. He's a big marketplace to them. So, the reality is where the game has changed, where the star players become a target. Crosby out with concussion, no big deal. No one cares about it. But, the difference is, teams are, look at a team like Edmonton, what they've tried to do with surrounding their team. They've got about 4, 5 heavyweights. It's ridiculous. I can't believe the size of their team. Now,
but why does Taylor Hall not have to skate with his head up? Shouldn't it be a lesson to him to say, if you don't want to get smoked like that, then don't keep your head down?
There's no question. I think the game's in that mid-transition because, Wayne Gretzky just celebrated his 50th birthday and it was everywhere. Did he ever get hit like Taylor Hall got hit throughout his whole career? Maybe once, and it was a big headline.
He got drilled by Gary Suter in the World Cup. That happened. It happens all the time. But why is it that a guy like Taylor Hall, who's a young guy, comes into the league, gets drilled by another young guy, and why is it not a good thing for the league? The league talks about why they can't take hitting out, and how dare we tinker with the fabric of our game and say, well, we can't have guys not getting hit. Why is it that in the NHL today, it's like you throw a clean body check and you have to fight? Why is it within the rules to throw a body check, but after that you have to fight, which is something that's kind of against the rules?
Well, let's rephrase the fact of just a clean body check. It's who the clean body check is against. I tell you one thing. I'm on the fourth line. Someone hits me like that. Everyone's saying, "Oh, you got hammered." Someone hits your first line player like that. There's a whole different game. And I think the game itself is in the midst of an identity phase where we want to take fighting out, but we want to protect our star players because they're the franchise, they're the history, they're the marketing. Sidney Crosby out of the game right now is a big blow to the All-Star game. I've heard people that were going to the All-Star game in Carolina just to watch Sidney Crosby. Now he's out. That hurts the game. But does a game do anything to protect Sidney Crosby from getting hit? He got hammered in the Winter Classic. Was there anyone that even made a motion on that?
I don't think anybody saw Sidney Crosby get hit in the Winter Classic. I think it was kind of one of those things that was behind the play. Nobody was really paying attention. Nobody was watching Crosby because he didn't have the puck. But like you said, the game is facing an identity crisis right now with these hits to the head that players are all of a sudden, it's a star player that goes down and everybody pays attention. But if it's a fourth liner, like you said, like a guy like you, nobody really listens. But the bottom line is your brain takes a blow the same way Sidney Crosby's brain takes a blow, does it not?
Absolutely. Boogaard's out. Does anyone even know Derek Boogaard's out right now with concussion?
I think the Rangers know he's out because he's making $1.75 million. Ken, when you look around and you watch the game today, do you see a lack of respect amongst players?
I see a lack of respect in the game of hockey amongst the players. Off the ice, obviously not, but, let's go back to the Taylor Hall incident. Drew Doughty had no consideration that Drew Doughty is a franchise player, and he wasn't holding up whatsoever. He was going out there to make a large hit and was going to finish no matter who he was. Let's go back to Samuelson, who ended, Cam Neely's career. That headline, that was something that happened maybe
15 years ago.
Yeah, but was there a bigger, career-ending injury from a star player prior to that hit. So that happened once a decade where a star player was actually career-ended because of somebody actually going after him and hitting him dirty.
Yeah, but now we're looking at Mark Savard, who might actually have to retire because of concussions. It's this hit that they say is a clean hit that is clearly not clean because guys are having their brains scrambled by it, and they refuse to make any changes. They say, well, we'll limit it so lateral headshots aren't actually considered dirty hits, but we're going to ban them. But the problem that I have in today's game is that you break a leg, it heals. You dislocate your shoulder, it heals. But when you get a brain injury, a concussion, or a spinal cord injury, sometimes they never heal. And these guys have put their bodies on the line for years and years for the game so the game can make money. They're really not protecting them. And do you, as a former player, feel the same way as I do?
Yeah, I do. But, the reality is that is the game. The game is you put yourself out there to potentially sustain these injuries, and it's a risk liability of playing the game. So it's not like you're playing lawn darts and are anticipating a whiplash from you're one of your opponents. Hockey it's a fast game. Guys are getting faster. Guys are getting stronger, and the awareness of guys protecting themselves. I think the game's doing injustice by putting all these rules in because guys are being more confident in the rule book, but the rule book doesn't apply when you're playing the fastest game on earth. The rule book is really tough to follow when it's a split-second decision of how a guy falls or gets hit.
So, the problem in today's game, correct me if I'm wrong, is that, the rule book, which is written by guys who actually formerly played in the game before, guys who work behind the benches, stuff like that. But the bottom line is the rule book is usually approved by Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, and, the commissioner, or whatever you want to call it. But some of these guys never played the game, so they might not know what's in the best interest of the players.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I think what's in the best interest of the players is their safety. And I've said it before in any interview. I think, when they try and take the fighting out of the game, and the reason they try and take it out of the game is because, Gary Bettman that comes from basketball, which is an American sport, and they want to try and grow hockey in the American market. Well, they feel the violent side of it is not growing for that fan-friendly basis. But obviously, the reality is they're wrong. So I think it's affecting the safety of the players, and it's affecting the game. I mean, we can get in the whole UFC, largest growing market in the world, how people want to see it. That men's senior Quebec League is crazy. I mean, they're almost stage fights, but they're sold out every night. So I think they're doing injustice both ways for the protection of the players, for the star players, and for the game itself.
What do you mean the Quebec League has been stage fights? Explain that.
Well, I mean, is it the code, the unwritten rule? I mean, talking to guys who played in that league and seeing a bit of the clips on YouTube. I mean, they've obviously both got a few players in each team who apparently understand of what the situation is going to be before the game happens. They go out, get into a fight. The fans love it. Everyone stands on their feet and they play the game.
I want to ask you one thing before we wrap this up. But Colby Armstrong, a couple nights ago, hits Marty St. Louis. This goes back to avenging clean hits. And he has to fight Steve Downey because Downey says, hey, you can't hit our star player, Marty St. Louis. At what point does it get kind of redundant that this game, which is based on physical play, are the players kind of taking the physical play out of the game?
Well, let's break it down one step further. That if Marty St. Louis is their star player, he's scoring 40 goals a year, which has given them a great opportunity to get into the playoffs. The team gets the playoffs, they get a chance potentially to win the Stanley Cup. They win a Stanley Cup, everybody's stock goes up. Okay, so let's break it down in Doughty's mind. If their star player is injured, right? Well, his chance of making the playoffs goes down because now their 40 goal scorer is out. So that could potentially affect his contract next year. So it's a whole ripple effect between the whole team. I mean, so you see when their star players get hurt, guys are like, you're not only affecting him, you're affecting the whole team for winning, which is affecting, it's ridiculous on how the game is such a business now and money. And it comes down to it. So people are trying to protect their assets, and their assets are their star players.
When you played, did you feel that the game was all about money? Did you feel like it was a business?
It wasn't as big as it is now. The contracts weren't as big. There was no 10, 15-year contracts. There was no $120 million contracts. And I think, it started to change a bit in 2006 when I retired, the last year or so, where everybody became fair game. So, the contracts are, they're just so big now. It almost takes away from, the fact of guys going on battling every night because, guys are signing 2-year deals and making, $4 million. So, that pads your bank account, that pads you a little, gives you a little security.
You played 1 year of post-lockout hockey, and a lot of years in the pre-lockout NHL, where everybody said after the lockout ended, this is the new NHL, and they did do a good job of taking obstruction out of the game. But when a defenseman can't hold up a forechecker for his defensive partner, you think a lot of injuries come from that?
Absolutely, there's no question. When you can't obstruct the view of a guy, 230 pounds, skating at full speed to finish even a cross-ice check, even open ice checks. Before you can get in the way of a guy, when you could obstruct him to the point where you're not going to knock him down, but you could knock him out of the stride or get in the way.
Ken, let me ask you a question. If you were to draw a line on the ice, and when the defensive partner was going back to pick up a loose puck, let's say you could put up your arms and hold up a guy forechecking to slow him down. Do you think that would prevent a lot of injuries?
Yeah, there's no question. I think the fact of if you can't even stand in front of a guy, it's an obstruction now. Like let's use just scenario. You've got a guy skating from the far blue line. His forward dumps it in. He's got full strides going from he's got 90 feet of speed and energy going forward with no one able to get in front of him to finish his check. Now, the old days you used to be able to veer the guy off so he loses half his momentum and has to change direction a bit. So now when he finishes a guy, he's only going at half speed if he gives a chance. Now the guys are going full speed. It's a run and gun game, which doesn't make sense when they claim, there's so many head injuries and they want, like I said before, they want to speed the game up and they want to reduce injury. Well, it doesn't make sense. That's like, it's like saying we want to put a bigger motor in our car, but we don't want people to drive so fast. I mean, it doesn't jive in the game of hockey because the game's so fast.
Agreed. We got to fly. Episode 1 of The Code on hockeyprimetime.com. We'll be back next week. I'm Corey Landsberg on behalf of Ken Belanger, former King, former Isle, former Leaf, former Bruin. Did you play for the Whalers at all?
I was at a couple training camps in the Whalers, which was Paul Holmgren days, early before he went to the Flyers, and they were interesting.
Do you remember the Brass Bonanza as well as I do?
I don't at all.
You don't remember the Brass Bonanza?
I don't remember the Brass Bonanza. That was way before my time.
It wasn't before your time. The Brass Bonanza's been around forever. I can't believe you don't know the Brass Bonanza. And you're a Hartford Whalers alumni?
Is the Brass Bonanza like a buffet?
It was the goal song that they used to play after the Whalers scored a goal.
Oh yeah, but I was only in training camp, so I never really got to feature. Like I was in training, I never played. I played the exhibition games. I never got to.
You were also never on the ice for a goal either, were you?
Absolutely not. I was plus.
All right. Well, how about this? Next week we will play the Brass Bonanza for you, so you can reminisce of your time with the Whalers.
You know what? I got my draft jersey. Next week I'm going to put my draft jersey up the Whalers, and I want to hear the Brass Bonanza.
Good. It'll give me time to reminisce of my childhood as well. I'm Corey Landsberg, Ken Belanger, and we'll be back next week.
Thanks, guys.